Hey, Mr. Kunkel.
Hey, Senor Palmer, how are you?
I'm good. I've been, we live up in the hills. I keep thinking I should go for a walk, but I don't know. It seems like the e-bike would be much easier.
It probably would be.
So what do you know about e-bikes?
I know quite a bit. As you know, I'm a relatively serious road biker on a pedal bike, not motorcycle. Because I sometimes mention that to people. Oh, I'm a biker.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you have, a Harley? It's like, no, it's a Fiorelli and a couple of Serratas and Cannondales.
I know you really well, and still when you say biker. See, I'm a motorcycle guy.
guy.
And so when you say biker, the word biker...
They always go right to it.
Right, goes to
what they like and what they're familiar with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see a lot of e-bikes all the time. And I wouldn't get one because I'm still young somewhat and able to ride a regular bike.
You're young, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm someone 63.
Okay.
And able to ride a regular bike, but they're great for people who are elderly or like in their 70s, or if they have like some medical issue, they have a really bad knee and they need assist up hills and things like that. Like I know some people who can do pretty well on the flats, but you get to a hill and their knee starts really barking at them, and if they have a little e-bike that has the pedal assist, that helps quite a bit to get them over that tough spot. I mean, here it would be a big deal. And back in the Seattle area where we moved from, it's very hilly. And so you almost can't find a ride anywhere that doesn't have some sort of a hill that you're going to have to tackle.
I'm thinking that when you say pedal assist, that I'm thinking on.
Yeah, it's on. I mean, it's the on
it's
not
button.
The kind of thing where you're sitting there with your feet not moving and the bike is going. It helps you with the pedal stroke. You do have to pedal on some of these pedal assist ones. Other e-bikes, it's almost like a moped, basically. You don't have to actually pedal. But there's been a lot of problems with the e-bikes, and I'm not talking about necessarily privately owned e-bikes, but a lot of the cities, I don't know if you've traveled to various cities, Boston, Philadelphia,
Not
Seattle,
as it relates to e-bikes, no.
They have these e-bike rentals, and it's these private companies, and most are Chinese-backed, that have these heavy as hell 50, 60-pound bikes, just clunky, inefficient, but they're electronic and battery-powered, and you can rent them and go out and dick around or ride it. And the thought was, I mean, these greenies in Seattle that I think the other cities are probably the same way, because it's these woke cities like Boston and places like that where I've seen them.
Right.
They think, well, all this mobility. Well, people have, like, if you work downtown.
Seattle, everything. I used to live there.
Yeah.
Everything's uphill.
Oh, it's very hilly. And so if you work downtown, rather than like grab an Uber or a cab or take your private car from one building to, a couple blocks away or a mile or two away, you can take an e-bike and get to your meeting, come back.
Okay.
And, and the world is saved, because you're so environmentally conscious. Well, that's not really what's happening. In fact, there's a lot of problems with that have cropped up. And it's one of those things that that the unintended consequences of having these e-bikes available has just been a nightmare. And they're trying to hide it because
the industry is trying to hide it, or the cities?
The city and the industry. The industry's, of course, this is so great because people can get around without a fuel, a fossil fuel burning vehicle. There's no pollution except for the electric company that is polluting and all this other stuff. Plus, you're using these lithium, or NiCad batteries that are, rare earth minerals that are very toxic. And what do you do with these batteries when they're spent? So that's
because they're so polluted.
Yeah. So they're terrible. So what's been happening is with these e-bikes, well, all of a sudden we're getting this big explosion of people having head injuries because they're riding these e-bikes without a helmet. Of course, if you're some businessman, some guy working in an office, and you got to run 8 blocks, and I'm running late, I better rent an e-bike and go fast. Well, you don't have a helmet with you. You weren't planning on that.
And probably people are thinking that they can just blow through traffic signals as well. Because
because they don't know the rules of the road.
Because bicyclists tend to do that.
Yeah, some do. Yeah, I try to be very conscientious.
I understand, but
I can be super angry when I'm in the right. because I try to be, try to be on the up and fair. But anyway, these people, they're not bike riders, and so they're going on this very heavy bike. Like I said, these things are built in China, and they're terrible. They're incredibly inefficient. If you run out of battery power, you're screwed.
Right.
For several reasons. But anyway,
you can't just like pedal at that point.
You can, but then you're on a very, very heavy, very inefficient bike, and you're not in shape because you're not a biker.
And you haven't been getting
you haven't been working your legs, and so it's like
okay.
So people run out of power, and they just leave the bike, and then these companies have to come and get it, and it's in the street, in the way. It's on bike paths. They leave them in landscaped areas and break the shrubbery off because they're super heavy. I mean, if you ever pick one of these up, there is a lot of heft to it. And with biking, weight is huge.
Right.
Weight and wind resistance are huge, and these things are just tanks.
Interesting.
And without the battery power, you're not going anywhere unless you're downhill. If you only have downhill, then it's fine. It'll roll like a bowling ball. But anyway, early on...
But wait, let me ask this.
Yeah.
Are the brakes also involved with the electronics, or are they just regular bike brakes?
They're regular bike brakes.
Okay.
They don't regenerate the power.
Okay.
Like you would possibly expect. I mean, that would be really complicated, but they're just regular caliper brakes that just squeeze the rim.
Okay.
And the friction slows them down. But then again, it's a very heavy bike. It takes more to slow it down. And so there's a lot of accidents. This is a University of Washington report. There were 9 medical encounters with like head injuries from 2018 to 2020. Only 9.
Okay.
With these e-bikes and e-scooters. I'm going to throw e-scooters in there too. And I have my own little...
That's fair.
Yeah,
it's a
the same thing.
classification.
And it's... People are even less used to scooters than they are bikes. Because
Right.
it's like, you ever ride a scooter? Not since you were a kid.
No, right.
But in 2021 to 2023, okay, similar time period, 2 years, 273 e-bike, e-scooter accidents involving like serious head injury type stuff. So, and a lot of these people, I think a lot of times it's like bums and stuff who are riding these bikes around.
Because they just pick up the ones
They pick them up and they ride them around, or else they beg for enough money or steal enough money to rent one so they can go. I don't feel like walking to the liquor store or wherever, or go visit my tent city where they have illicit sex and prostitution and shit like that going on.
So we're going to blame prostitution on e-bikes.
No, it's just a means to get there. But anyway, they're drunk and high and they fall over and going way too fast because you're getting this unearned speed on an e-bike. So on a regular bike, unless you're going downhill, you have to really work at it to get very fast. And in doing so, you're riding quite a bit. You learn the rules of the road. You learn to be proactive. You learn how to ride smoothly and anticipate situations, get around them before it becomes an emergency. But you're on an e-bike, all of a sudden you've got speed with no qualifications. And so you're on a super heavy bike going way too fast, not knowing shit.
Right.
And so, of course, it's going to be a problem. And,
Interesting.
So these bums get on there, and they're drunk and or high, and they fall off, crack their head, and who pays for that?
Of course.
You and me, taxpayers. And it's just nuts. I mean, the study, and I think this is wrong, they said 70% of the riders on these e-bikes and e-scooters don't wear helmets. And I'm not sure if they're throwing in e-bikes and e-scooters that are privately owned, because those people know they're going to be riding that bike or scooter.
Right.
And so they can anticipate that and put a helmet on like a normal person, because I'm the libertarian in me says I don't care if you wear a helmet or not, but I'm always wearing one.
Okay.
Like, there's no way I would get on a bike and not wear a helmet.
As a motorcycle rider,
Yeah.
I almost always wore. And in fact, I was very insistent that everybody around me be wearing a helmet also.
Right.
But if I'm driving 2 blocks to go get an ice cream, I don't want to have to put on a stinking helmet. And
On your motorcycle?
yeah, 2 blocks, literally. I mean, that was
Why aren't you walking?
because I wanted to ride. Actually, because I wanted to like charge the battery up a little bit, and make
that's
sure that
funny.
it was working.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is an issue.
Yeah, so that's another cost. I mean, they've had all these taxpayer-funded helmet giveaways, but of course, you give the free helmet to the person, but they're not going to anticipate, oh yeah, I got this, I was called to this meeting uptown and I'm going to get an e-bike instead of an Uber because it's cheaper, I think. I don't know. I've never done an e-bike, never done an Uber. And they, jet off to their meeting with no helmet. And so they're riding through downtown Seattle, traffic and stuff on this bike that they're unfamiliar with, going way faster than they've earned legitimately. Of course, there's going to be all kinds of accidents.
Right.
So this is Seattle only, $2 million per year in direct taxpayer funding. And that doesn't include direct taxpayer funding to these Chinese companies that rent these e-bikes.
Right.
And that doesn't include all the head injuries that you and I pay for, these people who are indigent and can't pay for their own medical care, have no medical insurance. And I thought Obamacare was going to cover that, but apparently not.
Yep.
And so, it's just a money pit. And in addition to that, as I was alluding to before, when people run out of power on these bikes, it's a tank that you're trying to pedal around in a hilly city and you're not in shape. And so people just leave them. They're all over the sidewalks. They're all over these bike trails. They're everywhere. And I am 100% certain on the I-90 bridge, which is like 2 miles. It's a very long bridge. I mean, I had a flat on there one time on my regular pedal bike. And I was near the middle. And I thought, I don't want to try to fix a flat on this narrow bike path because there's like a Jersey barrier and then there's the,
What's the Jersey barrier?
those concrete things to keep the cars from directly killing you. They have to go over it or push it into you to kill you. So I was like, I'm not going to do it here because this path is pretty narrow and there's people, walking, jogging, biking. I'm going to push my bike with a flat tire to the other side of the bridge where there's plenty of room. It took for frickin' ever.
Right.
And so you're not going to push an e-bike, so that people leave them there, and then they're blocking this path. Well, you go out and you see that bike there, and on the way back, that bike's gone. It's on the bottom of Lake Washington because someone got like, I'm sick of this frickin' bike here, over the side. So you got...
Oh my God, so now we have a bunch of dead fish.
Well, you're going to because those batteries, that's toxic metals in there.
I'm going to mention something from my experience as a motorcyclist, and I know I'm probably going to sound preachy, and I don't mean to, but I had a few different bikes, but they were all like BMWs and Hondas, and they had really good brakes, and they had really good acceleration, and they were kept really in tune, etc. Right. And I would go out riding with a bunch of friends. I mean, and they were guys from work.
Right.
And one time, I stopped a little too quickly, and the guy in back of me in his little crappy Triumph. Now, at the time, it was a crappy Triumph. I don't know what they are like now, but he couldn't stop as fast as I stopped, and he was really spitting mad at me. But you know what? Those are the things that we need to check out beforehand.
Oh yeah.
And I had no experience with it, and we don't. And people who are getting on these e-bikes have no experience with them, and we don't put them through any kind of a training class or any kind of an anything. And they should, because we're talking about all of a sudden having the force, your body force, in addition to the weight of this machine, and you could get into a lot of trouble.
Well, you could kill someone because it's a very, very
including
heavy,
yourself.
Yeah, including yourself, but it's a very heavy bike. Scooter's not so heavy, but still, scooters are a little squirrelier than a bike because
less protective, I would think.
Well, it's those tiny wheels.
Yeah,
it doesn't take much of a rock that you hit with that little tiny wheel, and all of a sudden you're end over end and rolling down the pavement or scraping down the pavement. The other thing is that steering is so twitchy with that little wheel in the front.
Here we go.
When I was a commissioner for the Water and Sewer District back in Washington, some of our staff went to this training thing out of town, and the guys were like, well, training's over till tomorrow. Let's go rent some scooters and ride up and down these walking/bike paths.
Right.
Well, this one guy got in a really bad accident and had to go to the hospital and everything, like concussion and scrapes and bruises and all that. And he was a pretty young, fit guy.
Yeah.
But on the scooter, I don't know. It doesn't take much at all. That tiny, tiny wheel.
Well, even on a bicycle. I mean, if you're not trained, if you haven't thought about this stuff, everything is about critical thinking in life. Right. Everything is about critical thinking. If you're going 120 miles an hour, which, let's face it, I've done, because in my car, I can't tell the difference between 40 and 100. Truly, I mean,
Roll the
sometimes
window down, you will.
I know exactly, but sometimes you just all of a sudden are going too fast. Maybe you're passing somebody and you just keep going, and it's scary. But I'm not giving it the necessary critical thinking attention that it deserves. And when as soon as I do, I go, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's not a good thing."
Part of the deal too with the bike being much more stable than the scooter. Well, first of all, more people have ridden bikes than have ridden scooters. So you're renting it with the bike. At least it's like maybe someone has a frame of reference,
Right.
but with the scooter, not so much. But part of what keeps you upright on the bike is the gyroscopic stability of those relatively low. They're 700 millimeter wheels. Pretty good size, about 27 inches, spinning around. So you got the spinning force. And you've done that with the gyroscope, where you try to turn it, it just wants to stay straight. And the bicycle wheel's the same way. I mean, if you take a wheel off the bike and spin it and hold the axle,
Yeah.
it's hard to turn. It's hard to move it. But the tiny little wheel on those scooters, that doesn't have much force, so you don't get the benefit of that wanting to be self-stabilizing.
Right.
And so they're hitting the ground all the time on those little scooters, and it's just terrible.
And you could hit a little rut.
A little, boom. Doesn't take much. A little crack in the sidewalk.
I would think,
that
yeah.
little wheel. I mean, some of the scooters have, 8 to 10 inch wheels, but a lot of them have. It's almost.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's almost like rollerblade wheels.
Right.
Just tiny little things.
Right.
But I know my, my concierge guy from Charles Schwab. You get people assigned to you to help you pick stuff, and I never let him pick anything, but he does like to call, and he used to ride a bike, and now he bought one of those electronic scooters to commute to and from work. And he tells me this thing goes 40 miles an hour. And I'm thinking, oh my God, you are sharing these paths where people are jogging, walking dogs, kids, and like 40 miles an hour.
And some woman's carrying her baby.
Yeah.
Walking along, totally not having any idea what's coming.
What's coming? I mean, you could just. It's ridiculous. It's like, if you're going to go that fast, get on the road.
We have somebody who lives, a neighbor of ours. You may not be aware of this. Older guy, big, tough, strong guy, bought an e-bike for both he and his wife, and he went off into the desert, down the hill, blah, 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 and all of a sudden he gets way down there, and it kind of freezes up. I don't exactly know what the result was, but he had to, at 82 years old, carry this 60-some pound bike back
heavy.
uphill for like almost an hour.
Oh, man.
He'd gone downhill really fast.
Of course.
I mean, back uphill was a whole different thing.
Oh, yeah. He might have run out of power.
and
or
his-
there's some mechanical problem.
And his wife was plenty pissed.
I'll bet.
Yeah. How could you, one of those
yeah.
conversations that you want to avoid.
Exactly. It is pretty crazy to have people who are not skilled or courteous well, maybe they're courteous, probably not, but not skilled riders on these things that are super heavy and very fast.
Right.
And sharing the trails with walkers, joggers, people walking dogs. It's a recipe for disaster.
Yep.
So I'm okay with people privately owned e-bikes, e-scooters, but boy, if you're going very, very fast, don't be on these walking trails. Be on the road.
Let me
That's
ask you
where it
a
belongs.
question.
I ride on the road as much as possible. I mean, there's certain trails that don't have a lot of people on, but like very famous trail, Burt Gilman Trail in Seattle. I don't like to ride on that at all. I mean,
Okay.
sometimes friends, let's do part of the Burt Gilman. It's
You're talking about a bicycle.
bicycle. This is a regular bicycle, but they do have speed limits on there.
Okay.
And you try
That's
to.
no fun.
It's 15 miles an hour, but you don't want some knucklehead on a super heavy e-bike going 40 miles an hour.
Are these two-way roads?
Yeah, they're not even roads; these are trails.
I understand, but so a trail can be really
Yeah.
deceiving.
Some areas are real narrow too, and there's all kinds of people on there. So
Let me ask you a question about the city, the civic aspect of this. They seem to be like in Seattle, they seem to be promoting this kind of a transportation.
they think it's green.
They think it's green. Okay, I was wondering what their
They
reasoning
think it's
is.
green, and it's like an equity thing because now everybody has mobility. I'm not sure what they cost because I've never even considered jumping on one of this. It's like, oh, let's get it. You know, if you're walking around, you're out of town,
Right.
Oh, let's instead of walking those 10 blocks, let's get an e-bike. It's like I don't have a helmet. I'm not getting on an e-bike without a helmet.
Right.
I'm
Good
not,
thinking.
I'm not stupid.
That critical thinking factor
yeah,
again.
critical thinking. But yeah, I mean, people. I don't know if they're cheap enough for everyone to get on. 'Cause I see bums on them, so it must be either that or they knock the people off who paid for it and steal them.
Yikes.
I don't even know what's going on.
All right. I'm Russell Palmer.
I'm Doug Kunkel.
We should talk.